Okay, today we're going to talk about, a couple of topics, how to deal with files and string formatting. So these are the two main topics for this week. And then what we're going to do for the rest of the week is to do as many exercises as we can to kind of, revise the material for the exam on Friday. Yeah, so your second exam is going to take place this Friday, as you all might know. All right, let me know, of course, if you're having any issues hearing me, there's a lag, or you can see the slides, etc. Okay, good. Put this here, kind of minimize that. All right, guys. So let's start with one particular thing that is not exactly files, but it's related. So modules, we're going to talk about modules. We have assumed that all our code is stored in one file right now. So we write a program, and it's typically, you call it with a .py, so that you indicate that this is a Python program, and you put your functions there, all your code is there. So this is fine because we've been looking at really small problems so far. So we're looking at, small programs that have typically just one function at most. Now, this becomes really problematic if you have a large collection of code. So if you're gonna work on a real project, it's most likely that you will have, a lot of functions and, thousands of lines of code. And having everything in one file is really cumbersome. So what we're going to learn is we're going to learn how to divide our code into multiple files. So basically you would have, one file is for, doing this set of functions, another file is for doing these set of functions. You're breaking your program into multiple pieces. You could have each piece in one file, and you can, use these files together, or maybe write code that you can use it later on for other projects and so on. Okay, so a module is just a .py file containing a collection of Python definitions and statements. It's a program with some functions and some, definitions, and it's doing something. Okay, you've already seen modules. So math, for instance, is just a module which does mathematical operations. Sys is another module which does, input from the user through command line arguments and so on. So we could also do the same. Yeah, so really write your own code and then import it later on. Let's see a concrete example. Let's assume I have a file called circle.py. So it's a program that deals with circles. So it can compute the area of a circle given its radius. It can compute its circumference given its radius, and so on. So I've defined two functions. One that takes radius as a float and return, the area of the circle with that radius. And the other one is like circumference, which takes the radius and return the circumference. Okay. And I've defined a variable here, pi, a constant, which has the value 3.40. Okay, so how do I use this module that I've created, this program that I've created, and other programs? I'm going to show you. Yeah, so I'm going to go to Python. I'm going to say import circle. Okay, so I'm saying import the code of circle as if it's now part of, my environment. So now, once I've said import circle, like I've said import math, I can use circle any way I want. So I can say print circle.py, and it's going to print 3.159. I can say print circle.area. So I'm calling the function circle, right? Dot area, so the area of a circle, and I'm giving it as an argument 4. So radius would be equal to 4. It's going to compute, the area of a circle with radius 4. You can say print circle of 4. It's going to give me 31. So what I'm doing here is, again, I'm showing you how I can write my own code and then import it as if it's a regular library like math or sys or all of these other libraries that you've been using. Yeah, it's the same concept. So far, so good. There's nothing really new here. Okay. Any questions? Great. I can also do the following, right? So another way of doing this. Yeah, so here is what I've shown you. So I import circle, that means load the code of whatever is in circle.py, and then you can do all sorts of things with that code as if it's part of your current program. Now, one important thing is that circle.py has to be in the same directory where I am. Yeah, so otherwise you have to, it would not be able to figure out what you're talking about. Okay. Another way of doing this, yeah, so this is what we've seen. Here's another way of doing this. So I go here and I say from circle import star. So that's another way of importing some code or some module. And what does that help me with? It allows me now to just directly use everything in circle without circle dot. Okay, so I can say print pi, print area of 4, print circle. Right. So now I can do this. I can say from math import star. Okay, so now I'm importing everything from math, and now I can say directly square root of 25. Look, right? It gives me 5. Okay, so when I say import the name of the module, I have to say, the name of the module dot a function or dot a variable. If I say from the module import star, it means import everything, and now I don't have to use this prefix, the name of the module dot. See the difference? Any questions? This is straightforward, correct? Okay. Are you hearing me well, or there is lag?
It's good so far.
Okay, great.
Sir, just
Yeah.
can you please ask your question at the end of the session?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, it's kind of a question. Can we ask you a question at the end of the please?
I'm not hearing very well, Rawat. Can you say, type in what you're saying?
He's saying he wants to ask you a question at the end of the
Yeah,
session.
of course.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, so let's talk about the next topic, which is files. This is one of the really coolest thing in Python. I mean, it's available in every programming language, but in Python, it's very simple, very straightforward. In other programming languages, it's a bit complicated. So what are files? Files are, things that you have on your hard disk, like, an Excel file, a text file, a Word document. So right now, up until now, we've been dealing with reading input from the user or the command line and writing to terminal. That was really our way of interacting with the program. You get input from the user either through the command line or through the input statement, and you write things out to the terminal. So, you print things on the console. That's great, but in reality, a lot of programs, we want to do things that deal with files. So you have the input in a file, for instance, and you want to read it. So you want to load whatever the contents of the file are into your program and do something with them. Or at the end, you want to print something out and write it in a file. Yeah, so that's stored in a file, and people can open it at any point of time. Yeah, so this is very common that a lot of programs just deal with files either for input or for output or for both. Okay, so in Python, to be able to deal with files, we use something called a file handler to basically read or write from files. So how do I define a file handler? I do the following. I create a variable. Here I called it my file. You can call it anything. And I use the statement open. I give the file name. Yeah, and that has to be the full path if it's not in the same directory as I'm running my program or where my program is, and then mode. Yeah, and we'll see what mode is. That's how I open a file, and I always, in any program that deals with files, I have to do two things: open the file, and at the end close it. Make sure you close it so that people can open it later on. You don't. It's not reserved by the program. You do two things: open the file and close the file. What are the modes that I have? I have read. So R is for read. That's the default. If you don't specify a mode, it's going to be just for reading. And W is for write. And I have to specify for Python interpreter whether I need the file to be open for reading, writing, for both, and so on. Yeah. So there are other options like append and so on. But we'll look at two examples, one for read and one for write. Right. So here's an example. Yeah, this is really a simple example, but it's cool. So I'm gonna write a Python program to read your names and store them in a text file. Yeah. So basically, what I want is to write a program that's gonna ask for your names and then store these names in in a file. That's really the game we're playing. So let's try to do this together. Okay. Read class list, write class list. Okay. Can you see my code? It's opening. Okay. Good. So let's define it together. Yeah, let's try to do it together. Yes, sure, no problem. Okay, but focus now on the current example. So we want to write a program. What is it doing? It's going to read, the names of the students and store them in a file. Okay, so I'm going to do the following. First, I'm going to define an n, which tells me the number of students in the class. Okay, so I'm going to say int input how many. So basically, first thing I'm gonna get is just how many students are in the class. Great. Okay. Now I'm gonna say, my file. So I define a variable called my file, which is open. Right. What do we call the file? We call it, let's say, class list txt. So that's the name of the file that I want to open. And what is the mode? Is it read or write? I want to be able to write the names of the students in this file. So it's a write.
W.
W, exactly, right? So I'm saying the following. I'm gonna open a file for write. And don't forget to close the file. Yeah. So I put the code, whatever code I'm going to do, between these two statements, open and close. Yeah. Don't forget to always close the file. Okay, so now what is the code? So I know that I have to write how many names? N. So I'm gonna do a loop, right? For I in range of n. Okay. I'm gonna ask, the user, so name equal to input. Name, right? So basically, I'm gonna ask student to tell me their name, and I'm gonna write this name into my file. So my file dot write. That's as simple as that, right? To write something in a file, you just say, my file, the file handler dot write, and then I'm gonna write. Okay, let's try this out and see whether it works or not. So what do I do? Just loop equal to a number of times equal to the number of students, ask what's the name, and then write this name. Let's try it and see if we got it correctly. Python write class list. How many students? Let's say 5. What's your name? So I'm gonna enter Ali. What's your name? Eva. What's your name? Khaled. Alma. Okay, so that's 4. And Joe. Okay. And it ends, right? So it asked me 5 for 5 names because I said the number of students is 5. And then it wrote. No, the file doesn't have to already exist. If it doesn't exist, Rawat, and I'm doing a write, it's going to create the file for me. Yeah. So if it doesn't find the file that is called classlist.txt, as I have defined here, what it's going to do is it's going to create it on the folder you're currently running the program from. If the file exists, it's going to empty it and update it. Yeah. So basically, it's not going to append to the file. It's going to just start empty the file and then updated based on whatever you're writing in it. You can always append, but the mode is, I think, A or something. So I don't recall what is the mode for append, but there is an append mode. So write means write from scratch, as if it's a new file. There is also a mode called append, which I believe is A. Okay, so let's see the file, right? So it created a file called class list. If you see, it just, here is the date modified today at 9:16. And what do we see here? We see Ali, Heba, Khalid, Salma, Joe. Okay, so this is not pretty. You see the issue? I wanted to ideally write a name in every line, right? This looks very, very messy. Imagine you have hundreds of students. This is just going to be one long word. So how do I fix that? Thoughts? So I have the issue here is that it wrote, if you see, wrote all the names, but right next to each other in one line. And that's and would usually we use it in print, and it would actually write everything in one line. I like this suggestion, Christina, but remember that and is for print, and it usually writes everything in one line. I bet it works for write as well, but it's not going to solve our problem. We want to actually write everything in a new line. Print is going to print on the screen, guys. Yeah, print is used for printing on the screen. Here I want to write in a file. Okay. So Rawad, if you look at Rawad's suggestion, he's saying the following. You write name plus /n. What is /n in programming, in computer science in general, in most programming languages? /n means do a new line. And so slash means that something coming after is escape character, and that's a command. So when I do /n, it's gonna write, a new line. So with after every name, it adds the /n. What is /n? Means, we create a new line. Let's try it. All right, so how many students? Let's say 5. Ali, Eba, Joe, Salma, and Karim. Okay, now let's see. I'm going to close this file, and I'm going to open it again. And as you see, it wrote Ali, Heba, right? Each one in a line. Understood? So don't forget, when you're writing in a file, if you want everything that you're writing to be in a new line, you have to add the /n. I could also do the following, for instance, /t. What do you think /t would do? Space. It's going to do a tab. Yeah. All right. So let's try it out. 5, Ali, Eva, Yusuf, Salma, 1. Okay. Let's see. That what is called a tab. And there are other variations of this /t, stuff like that. Okay. So it's not exactly a space, it's a tab. Questions? Is this difficult? No? Okay. Let's do another example. Okie dokie. Let's see this one. Okay. So we want to write a Python program that now prints your name from the class list file. So now I want to write a program that's going to open the class list file that we've just written and print them on the screen. How do we do this? Let's see. So print class list. Okay. And it's as simple as that. So I'm going to say, let me just, okay. So I'm going to say, my file, again, is called open. What's the file name? It's class list.txt. And what is the mode now? I want to read things from it, not write. So the mode should be exactly. So R, that meaning I'm reading. Don't forget to close the file at the end. That's why I always write the open and the close statements right next to each other so that I don't forget. And then inside I write the code. Okay. So then how do I read? So basically from a file, let me show you on the slides because this is new. So once I say, here I called it class list, in the program I called it my file, it doesn't matter. Here, this statement is for opening the file, for reading, because I'm giving the mode as R. And now I do the following. I say for line in class list. So what is class list give me? It gives me all the lines inside the file as a list. Yeah, you could assume that each line is one item in a list. So whatever the file has in terms of lines, each line will be stored as one item inside this class list or this file handler thing. Okay, so I can loop over these lines. So here I'm saying for line, that's the name of the variable in class list. I can say for I in class list, doesn't matter, it's a value. And then I'm saying print whatever is in line. Let's try this out in the code, and then I'll explain something that is in the slide here. So for line in my file, that means what? Means loop over all the lines in my file. Okay, print line. So that would just print the line. So I loop over all the lines and print the line, and the end close. As simple as this. Let's try it. Python print class list py, and it wrote there's only one line here because we have been using the tab. Yeah. So if you look at the file, it just has one line, class list. Just have one single line. Let's modify the file a little bit so that it has one name per line, and then we rerun this code. So I'm gonna write here /n. I'm gonna rerun. How many students? 5. Ali. So now the file, since I'm using /n, would have one name per line. Okay, great. Now let's run the print class list. Okay, and what you see is it wrote Ali, Heba, Mona, Salma, Joe. Okay, so it wrote every line, but there is an issue here. You see, there is almost a line in between, an extra white line or white space between every name. I don't like that. First of all, why is this happening? Second, how do we fix it? So first of all, why did print did not print Ali and then followed by Heba directly, followed by Mona? Any thoughts? You're still there, but you're not able to answer, or I've lost you? Here is the code. All I'm doing is I'm saying, okay, print, line. So once I say my file equal open of this, that means, every line will be stored as one item in a list, you could assume. And now I'm looping over these lines because, each line is one item, and I'm printing the line. It's the /n. So why is the /n causing an issue here? Okay. Remember the following: the file. If I open the file class list, it has the name, and there is a hidden /n, which is a new line. Yeah, this is we're not seeing it because what had happened is it created a new line so that I can write the next name in a new line. Now print. So basically, there are two. Print by itself. Remember what print does. Prints a line, something on the screen, and it creates a new line. So you have two new lines, one from the /n and one from the print. The print, as soon as I try print something, it's going to print it on the screen and then creates a new line. Yeah, that's what print does. So I have now two new lines. One is the /n from the file, and one is the the new line that comes from print. So how do I fix this? Not sure what you mean, Mahdi. I'll answer your question, but let's focus on the issue at hand right now. So how do I fix this so that it doesn't, print an empty space after each name? Thoughts? Any thoughts? No? Okay, how about the following? Did I remove the /n? I didn't remove the /n. The /n is there, right here. Right. It's write the name and then add /n at the end, meaning create a new line. And that's why the names are each in one separate line. If I didn't have the /n here in this program, then all the names would have been right next to each other. So I had to create the /n to be able to create this new line. Now the issue is when I'm printing or reading something from the file, the /n is read as well, and it's part of the, the line. So I want to get rid of the /n. How do I get rid of the /n? Yeah, in the second program. Second program depends on the first program. The way we've written the first program is what created the text file. Now in the second program, I'm trying to read whatever is in the text file and project. So Jad is saying try end. I like this suggestion. So let's try print line and end equal. So Jad is saying, okay, now we have two, new lines. One is coming from the print and one is coming from the /n. I know how to get rid of the print creating a new line by using end. If I say end equal to, quotes, it's going to write everything that I read each on the same line. So I get rid of the extra new line from print. Let's try it out. And as Jad suggested, it writes everything, just one, one particular name at one line and doesn't do this extra line. Why? Because the /n creates the new line. Okay, so Daniel is asking if we can make it W instead of R, but I want to read, Daniel. Right? If I do this W, then I'm writing. I'm trying to write. Yeah, I want to read whatever in the text file. Okay. Any other way? So that's one correct way of doing it. The other way is to say, remove the /n. So how do I remove the /n? By taking the line from the beginning all the way to the end, except the last character. That's doing slicing. Yeah? So I take, line, whatever it was in it, minus the /n. That's slicing from the beginning all the way till right before the end. That should also work. If I try it out, give me again the names. Correct. Yes, /n is considered one single character. Okay? Questions? All right. Now, somebody, Christina, we had a question about this. So you asked me to go back to this previous slide. So can you please tell me what the issue was? If it's the correct slide. If you're still there. Okay. Okay, great. Fine. Sure. So again, files themselves are not complicated. You have just to open the file and close it and either read from it or write from it. The only subtle things is to know that if you want to write something in a new line, don't forget to add /n. And when you're reading up from a file, a new line in a file corresponds to a /n. So you have to be careful if you're trying to print this to the screen. Yeah, you get the hang of this by trying that. Okay. Questions? You have very cool exercises in the assignment on how to deal with files. So we have one exercise where will provide you with a file and you read it and check if it contains duplicates or not. A file where you wanna, censor a few words in it, and it really has a lot of cool very simple exercises, not complicated programmatically, but they give you a very good practice on how to deal with files, whether to read in them, to read from them, or to write in them. Okay, so please do the exercises on files. You can start with these immediately. Okay, we're going to talk next about string formatting, and then, as I said, on Wednesday and Friday, we'll dedicate it to exercises and questions that you have regarding the material. But I'd like to do string formatting today as well, so that you can start on the assignment. Okay, so what is string formatting? It's related to writing something on the console. So we've been using print statement, which prints stuff on the console, and we're assuming that it always prints strings. So really, I mean, whatever I'm giving it, it's gonna convert it into a string and print. Even if it's an integer or a float or something like this, it eventually prints it as if it's a string. Okay. Now, string formatting in Python, there is one unique built-in operation for strings, which is the percentage operator. So remember, we use this as modulo, or for division, to get the remainder of a division operation for integers, but we also use it in strings, and it's referred to string formatting. Okay, so what do I mean by this? Typically, to do formatting of a string, you do format percentage values. So this format is going to be string, and it's going to tell me how I would like to format my output, and this is going to be the output. Yeah, the value is going to be the output. Before the percentage is the format, and after the percentage is the values. And what's going to happen is it's going to substitute whatever value is here and the placeholders for format. Let's see an example. Let's say the following, right? I type in print hello world from percentage s exclamation mark, and then I say percentage r. Okay, so this is the format. This is the thing, right, that I want to print on the screen. When I say percentage something, percentage s, it's going to understand that this is almost like a variable that I want to replace with whatever comes after this. Yeah? So this is going to print hello world from army. Yeah? So this is really going to take this and substitute the percentage s with whatever after the percentage. It's an argument. Yeah? You can assume that it's as if it's a function, and the variable is percentage s here, and it's going to be replaced with the value for the argument. Let's try it, and then we'll see another example. Okay. I'm going to say print hello world from. If I type this, print hello world from Arna, it's going to print hello world from Arna. Now look what it does if I do the following. Percentage s. Yeah. Let's add the exclamation mark, it doesn't matter. What is going to print? It's going to print this as if it's a string. Okay. Now see what happens if I do the following. Percentage. So I said print hello world from percentage s exclamation mark, and then percentage I. What it does, it replaces the percentage s with I. We'll see why this is needed. So this example, yes, I don't even need it. I wrote it like this. I can write it immediately, the string as the complete string. But we'll see examples of why we need this in a second. Okay? Just for now, I want you to understand this. When I see, when I say a string and then I say percentage s or percentage d or something like this, and I give it some values, again, after a percentage, it will replace this, placeholder with whatever value you're given. Let's see another example. This is another example where it's not easy to do it unless I use this string formatting. So here is what I'm saying. I'm saying print, here is a list, and what I'm going to print afterward is I'm going to give it a list to print. So now here is a list and then percentage s. And what is the value that I want to replace by this percentage s? It's the list 1, 2, 3. So let's try this out. Print here is a list. Okay. And I'm going to say percentage s. And then I'm going to say percentage 2, 3. Okay. What it's going to print? It's going to print, here is a list, 1, 2, 3. How can I do this without this? It's almost impossible, yeah? Because I cannot say print, here is a list, right? And then plus 1, 2, 3, right? Remember that I cannot concatenate a list and a string. It's gonna complain. So this is really one way. For instance, here's an example where you actually totally need this, right? I want to write, here is a list, and then replace, you know, and then put something, a list, right? So I'm gonna use the string format. It doesn't have to be S. It has to be S if it's a, you know, if it's a string, yeah. If it's a, if you want to write it as a string, we'll see other things, right? So percentage S means I'm writing a string. See, percentage D means I'm writing a digit, percentage F means I'm writing a float, and so on. Okay. Here's another example. So print, my name is percentage S and my game is percentage S, and then I'm saying percentage, and then I give it a tuple with 2 strings, Arna and basket. Who can tell me what it's going to print? So this statement. Any thoughts? Yes. Right, exactly. So it's going to replace the first percentage S with the first, you know, value you're giving, and the second percentage S with the second value you're giving. Yeah, if you're wondering who's Arna, it's the name of my my rabbit. Yeah, my rabbit is called Arna. So I tend to use him as an example. Okay, so let's try it. Where is the console? Let me close this. All right, I can't see my console anymore for some reason. Okay, what? What on earth? Where is it? Ah, here it is. Okay, sorry. So let's do the following. I'm gonna say print. My name is percentage S, and my game is percentage S. Okay. So now I'm saying the following. I want to print the statement, but replace these 2 placeholders, percentage S, with 2 values. So I have to give it a tuple consisting of 2 values, Arna and basket. Now it's going to print my name is, okay, I did something wrong. My name is percentage S. Who can tell me I didn't do it correct? Here it printed all of it as if it's a string. I have to do this percent, exactly. I have to say, you know, that's a string replace. And now it says my name is Arna and my game is basket. Okay, good. Let's see. In general, what do I have? So Christina was asking, does it have to be percentage S? No. And here are the, you know, some of the most common ones, and these are the ones you're gonna use in the assignments and, you know, a lot of your programs. So you could look at the documentation for the full list, but here is, you know, some examples of what this have. First of all, the string formatting like form is, the general form is like this. You have a format string, and then percentage, and then a tuple of values. Yeah, and for each placeholder, a value would be replaced in order. So if you have here percentage S, percentage S, percentage S, then it's going to be parameter 1 is percentage, the first percentage S, parameter 2 the second percentage S, and so on. What other things I could use? I could use percentage D to say I'm going to print, or, you know, place an integer. I can put a percentage F to say I'm placing a float. I can say percentage S, which means a string. I can say percentage 8D. What does that mean? It's an integer. I want to write it 8 characters wide and write a line. let's see what do I mean by all of this. I'm gonna clear, then do Python. Okay, so I'm gonna print. Let's start with percentage D. My age is percentage D. So I'm saying print my age is percentage D, and I'm gonna give it 24. I'm not gonna tell you my real age, so I'm gonna just use my age 24. Okay, so what it does, it replaces my age is 20. Okay, can do the following. My name is percentage S, and my age is. Now I have to give it two values, yeah, because I'm saying I have two placeholders. One is a string, and the other is. So I have to give it as a tuple. So Shadi and 24. And remember, a tuple can have mixed values. So here it has a string and an age. And what it does, it says my name is Shadi and my age is 24. Okay, let's try the float. Print, my salary is percentage F, and then I say percentage I457987. Okay, it's gonna turn my salary is this. Okay, we'll talk about padding in a bit. Let's see another example. Yeah, let's see, for instance, when I do 8D, what does that mean? Print this number is my number is percentage 8D, and then I give it percentage and I give it a number, let's say 50. So it's expecting an integer and it's going to use 8 characters to represent it. Okay, so let's see what it's going to do. It's used here, if you see here, it's a space, right? So it's used 8 characters to represent 50. Yeah, and it's right aligned. So it aligns it right aligned. Let's see, the same if I do padding. So I'm saying pad with 0. So use 8 characters to represent my integer or print my integer in the string, but right aligned and pad with zeros. So we add zeros if the number is less than 15 characters. And what it does, it's print my number is, here is 2 zeros, 3 zeros, so 6 zeros, and then 50. If I write the number is 350, I'm going to use only 4 zeros and so on. So it's padding the thing with. Of course, you combine all of these. It doesn't have to be 8. It can be 10. If you see in the assignment, we're asking you to, use this for, I think, 4 digits or 5 digits. Yeah. What about this? Minus, let's say, 60. Okay. So what does this mean? It means you're going to do left alignment. So you're going to use 6 characters. The minus here means it's left aligned. And the number is left. So my number is 350. It's using 8 characters, so it's receiving 6 characters, I mean, but it's now aligning to the left. So it's really 350, and then you have 3 spaces. Imagine, why is this useful, this left alignment and right alignment? Imagine that you're writing a table or writing multiple files, multiple lines, sorry. You want them maybe to be like a table, yeah, like aligned left or aligned right. For example, in the assignment, if you look at yeah, I don't have it. We'll look at it the next time. Yeah, but sometimes you want to write, a table, and you want all the numbers to be either left aligned or right aligned. So we'll use, the same formatting for every value that you're printing, for every line that you're printing. 12F, for instance, we would expect a real number, and it's 12 characters wide. Okay. This one, so dot for F, and you don't need to memorize all of this, of course. You can look at the documentation, you can, Google it. Let's say I want to write a number that is a float and 4 characters after the decimal. How do I do this? And this will lead you to the correct placeholder or format string. Okay, so let's try this one out. So print my number is percentage dot for f, and I want to give it a float. So let's say 93.45. Okay, so what does this mean? It means use 4 characters to represent I use a real number, so expect a real number, a float, right? So here, and you use 4 characters after the decimal. So this is what it's going to print. It's going to print 93.4500. Okay, so basically it padded with 2 zeros because I'm saying, you need 4 digits after the decimal point. Let's try this one out. 6.2. So it's a total of 6. I want 6 places and 2 after the decimal point. When I say 6.2, so it's my number is. So here it uses 2 extra spaces. So 93.45. Yeah? So 2 spaces after this. Don't memorize this. You'll get the hang of it by practice. Yeah, and you can look at the documentation. Let's finish with 2 exercises and then I'll take questions. So really simple exercise, just to make sure that you get this. We'll repeat them again on Friday, but I want to see at least that you got the hang of this. So let's try to do the following. I want to write this data in the following format. So my name is Arna Young. My age is 23 years old. So I'm going to store the data that I want to write. So the name, the first name as a first element in a tuple, second name as the last name as the second element in the tuple, and the age is 23. And all I need to do is to figure out the format string, and I'm going to say print format string percentage data. So it's going to take this tuple as the data, and we need to figure out what is the format string. Any thoughts? I want to print this, right? So I want to write my name is, and then put placeholders for the different values that I want to replace. Any thoughts? Just replace, right? I want to figure out the string. So I'm going to say, what is the format string? It should be my name is, percentage data. No. So what we need to do is to say I have 3 things that I want to replace in the string: first name, last name, and age. So how do I do this? So my name is, okay, percentage S. Okay, so I want to, yes, exactly match. So percentage S, percentage S. So here's the first name and the last name, and then point, right? So full stop, and then my age is percentage T, exactly, because I'm expecting a string, an addition of an integer, so percentage. Okay. Here's, oh, exactly. Yes, thank you, Joseph, right? So Joseph wrote it exactly. So let's try this out, and then I'll do it again next time, and we can stop here. I'm going to say data is equal to Arna. So I'm creating a tuple with the different values that I want to, and the age is 23. And then format string, so another variable, going to be, what is it? My name is percentage S, percentage S. So 2 placeholders, then a full stop. My age is percentage T. Now I want to print format string percentage data. What it's going to do is going to replace, print this guy, but replace these variables with the different values. And what it does, it prints my name is Arna Young, my age is 23 years old. Okay, let's repeat this exercise and do the next one on Wednesday before we continue. All right, guys, thank you. If you have questions, you can stay a bit behind. Yeah, and I'll take.
Yes, sir. Can we ask you about something, please?
Sure.
The assignment
Yeah.
for Friday. Can I just like, we want to know exactly why, because it's like we have an exam the same day. So like, how come it's always, we always have assignments for Monday, but then when we have an exam,
Yeah.
we have the assignment for the same day.
Yeah, so yeah, you have to assign for the same day because we want you to practice. The whole point of the assignments is to practice. Yeah, so it's really the best way to study for the exam. Don't waste your
wouldn't this-
time. You know,
Wouldn't this give us less time to practice other concepts we might have more trouble with? Because now, in this case, we're only focusing on the concepts in the assignment.
you're handling programming wrong. Yeah, so your programming is very cumulative. So basically, if you do the last assignment, you're almost covering everything that we've talked about. Yeah, except for recursion, because this one doesn't have recursive algorithms. But anything else that you've done, it's really a build-up. So that's how programming is. It's like,
But
right.
for example,
Yeah.
if we do the thing, if we do the homework,
Yeah.
and we think like, okay, we're done, خلصنا, and then
Yeah.
we send it, and then we get feedback on it 4 weeks later. We don't even know if we did it right or wrong.
Yeah.
صراحة.
Yeah.
So we can't
سوري
exactly
بروف
practice.
انا يعني بصلحوا لي بس لا assignment 1
Yeah.
يعني ما حتى assignment 2 وصل للجواب.
You know, we can't exactly بلكي مثلا انا I did the assignment و I think it's correct, so مشيت على الاساس و this is the way that's stuck in my head. بس
Yeah.
بعدين بيجي the exam and it's the wrong way, but I never got any correction and I never got any, like,
Again,
I
you're